Miss McDermott, how
There are a
are you?
lot of people here.
We've got this is
Cool.
the way we roll. There's a bunch of amazing ladies and then some guy with a beard for some reason. That is how we do it. Hey, it is very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. I'm gonna do some spotlighting here and get us on board so we can get rocking and rolling if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
All right, so I like to do Coach Wit first because it makes it awkward for her. So I go right there first, and then I add me, and then we'll get the guest of the hour. Kristin, you're a rock star. I appreciate you jumping in. I have been going down the rabbit hole since Larry
What
introduced.
rabbit hole have you been going
I've
down?
been going down the Kristin MacDermott rabbit hole, and I love everything you've been doing, everything you are doing, this pivot towards with the everything on the teen side. You're doing phenomenal work that matters. So I'm just saying that right up front.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. This is so nice.
What an honor. What a pleasure. How did you meet Larry?
So I met him actually just because my husband had worked with me for the last 18 months to get this teen mental health program kind of
Uh-huh.
out to the world because I am
Yep.
like the person that likes to sit in my little cave and create things and work with
Yeah.
people, but I don't like to do the whole, you know,
Yep.
sales side of it. And so
Totally.
he found that podcast and was like, we have to get you on here, and just was like
Um,
determined. So just sort of stalked him, basically.
How cool. How
Yeah.
cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So I've known Larry. And so ladies, they're on here, people listening to this. I'm talking about Larry Hagner. And of course, we've had Larry in a number of times with our men, with our young men. I've been on Larry's show a number of times. We've worked together. I've got this sword. If you're listening, you can't see it, but in the background, I got this sword back here that was gifted to me by Larry. He's one of my dear friends, a phenomenal human. And he's never steered me wrong. Anytime he's like, hey, by the way, I've got somebody you have got to meet because this is right up like he's always spot on, man. So I'm glad he made the intro and that
Good,
we're
I
getting
am too.
so that's very cool. So we want to dive into all things, Kristin. We're gonna chat here. The three of us will chat, and then we're gonna bring these ladies in for a little Q&A on the back end too. But we just want to dive into you, your work, what you're excited about, what you're building. So we'll do some kind of high level stuff to start, just to give everybody a taste and people that are listening to the podcast a taste of the MacDermott method and what we're talking about. And then we'll kind of take a deep dive into the specifics if that's okay. So you give us a little bit of the high level of your brainchild here, the MacDermott method, and we'll kind of start there.
Well, I always think it's just sort of interesting, especially when you're talking about resilience, that like in my mind, resilience is like realizing that life is not always a straight path. Life is like
Mhm.
embracing that like you can have great plans, but then your life can end up somewhere that is often way cooler than you could have imagined. And so I was living in Aspen, Colorado, which was very cool in and of itself. And I just was needing my hours to be a marriage and family therapist. So I thought I was just gonna have my little practice and have my kids and have my couples and families, and that was just gonna be it. And then because I needed hours and it's hard to find them in a small town, someone invited me to run a cancer support group. And I was like, that just sounds really hard. I think I'd rather just have like marital issues and kid issues. And she was like, no, 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 just come and try it. And so I said yes. And it turned out to take my whole life in this direction of resilience and be, the most meaningful work I ever did. And so there were a couple of things that came out of that. So what we were looking at is, why do some people go through this cancer experience, which is one of the most disruptive, scary things you can go through in your life. And why do some people go through that and come out on the other side, their words, not ours? Like, you could never say this, but we heard so many people saying, I would never wish this on anyone, but something about this made me feel like my life is better for it. And so we
Yeah.
were like, well, how do you do that? And can we learn what you did and can we teach it to others? And so that's really where this whole interest in resilience came from. The other thing that was cool about working in that population, so I worked in an oncology department in this small community hospital for like 10 years, was that these people didn't want therapy. So they got me in the room, and I had a partner at the time, she was a social worker, whether they wanted us or not, when they were hooked up for like 4 to 6 hours to their chemo. So they were not signing up for therapy. They wanted skills, like skills to, quiet the craziness in their heads and like make decisions and communicate well with their loved ones and their doctors and just calm their nervous systems, which is great for me because I like that. Like the kind of therapist I am is I want to teach you what I know so that you don't need me anymore. I don't really typically have people who come to me for long periods of time.
Mm.
So anyway, long story not short, because Aspen is Aspen, we happened to just get noticed by the director of the Duke Cancer Center. And he said, I hear you guys are doing something really cool. And since it's skills based, we could actually study this like a pill. Because, typically when you try to study therapy, it's like just whatever happens between two people.
Yep.
So we did, and we ended up doing, I never thought I was going to be a researcher either, but we ended up doing 4 studies with Duke. It was all in adult cancer populations. And it was pretty amazing because we found that even though, especially in the first one, where we intentionally chose women with metastasizing cancer, so their
Mm.
cancer was actually progressing, but they perceived their quality of life as improved, which is super awesome, right? And so then we were like, well, but we did this in like a one-on-one in-person setting, which is obviously not scalable. So then
Sure.
we were like, well, how do we get this to the people that need it? So then I did something else I'd never thought I would do, but I went and like wrote a business plan and raised like $10 million and like had a company for 10 years. And so we ended up building this whole online platform, which now is totally normal, but this was like 2012. We
Yep.
were bringing people together in these
Yeah.
online skills training groups. But it really worked. Like it was really a helpful way to teach resilience because you could, obviously reach people all over the country like we are so
Sure.
used to now. And then for me, I was really interested in moving beyond cancer because it was never about cancer. It was always
Yeah.
about resilience. So we never even used the word cancer in our curriculum. That was just the stressor that people were
Mhm.
bringing to the curriculum. So then we were like, well, who else is in really high stress jobs? And so we ended up getting this like huge grant from the SEAL Family Foundation and going into other like kind of military first responders, LAPD. And I was listening to a bunch of your podcasts, and so there's a lot of, there are some really interesting
Got some
ones.
good folks there.
Yeah, yeah. And just like having, men and women in like jobs where being vulnerable, and being real and talking about the stress and your
Mhm.
emotions is not the normal thing. Just to like give people a space to like even admit,
Yeah.
that it was
Totally.
hard, was such a
Totally.
powerful thing. So now, I mean, whole other conversation about resilience. That company actually failed, which is fine. It didn't fail in what we were doing, but it failed in its business model.
Got it.
And the word failure is so triggering for people, but I use it intentionally because
Oh,
it's like
100%.
that's resilience. So then I was like 50 and I'm like, I'm a failure at 50. Damn, what am I going to do? So I was like, well, what am I going to do if no one else cares but me, if it's just for me again, and it's teen mental health. So I just was like, this is where like I look at middle school and high school.
Yep.
I mean, it can be so difficult. It's just so hard. And it's hard to parent kids that age because you're just watching and there's just so much stress and so many mental health issues. And so, but my brain likes to write curricula. And so out of that, I just created this program that we're now taking in schools called Mindset Moments. And then I have some parenting courses too for that age, just because I feel like Mindset Moments also goes to parents. So it
Hmm.
basically puts in the palm of your hand super simple, like you don't even have to read it before you show up, like in homeroom or on the football field, because we started with coaches, or at the dinner table if you're the parent. And it just gives you like a super simple, like a little visual, a GIF, because visuals are really important.
Mm.
A little 30-second thing that you read that like sets up the skill of the week, and then 5 conversation prompts. Because my thing when I look at teen mental health is that these kids don't know how to talk to each
Yeah.
other or to all the adults that are around them trying to help them, or to their own parents, even if they are lucky enough to be at the dinner table, which a lot of
Yeah.
them aren't, but like, so for me, it's about communication and just conversation and not about knowing answers. Even if you're the parent, you don't have to
Yeah.
know the answer. Just
Yeah.
like be willing to like get in the messy conversation of it. And so
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long.
That's not, don't be sorry. Are you kidding? That's why, I mean, if you
Yeah.
didn't know why we have Mrs. McDermott here, now you understand. You are talking, you're speaking our language. In so many different arenas, you're speaking our language. What I love, like I always look for patterns, I'm looking for common threads. And in every single bit of this, you're talking about skills. You're talking about skill acquisition. These ladies are going through a tumultuous time. I mean, with these cancer diagnoses and things, metastasizing, getting worse. Skills are
Yeah.
helping are helping them to see themselves as getting better. You're
Mhm.
talking about now seeming, okay, wait, now we're talking about parents and parenting, and we're talking about parenting teens, right? And so skills for the parents. Hey,
Yeah.
teenagers, coping with all of the things that teens have to cope with right now. Guess what? Skills are what help you get through this. I love that. Our good friend David Bidler at Physiology First always says skills over pills. Like,
Hmm.
let's give people these skills, and then they can understand that mental health becomes a byproduct of using skills wisely and growing in that way. Right. So I love that you're
You
talking
pinpointed
about.
it. Like that's the most
Yeah.
important thing. And the cool thing is, like if you saw mindset moments, for example, if you because they come in as a skill of the week, there is
Uh,
not one of those that anyone would be like, huh? Like
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
We all know it. We just don't necessarily have the words for it, or no one's pointed it out, or like,
Yeah.
but that you can feel it in your body, like, oh, this makes sense. It's not hard. And so you don't
Yeah.
have to really, we don't have to train people to teach it because
Totally.
so we're not saying, hey, this is how we think of a skill. We're saying, what do you think about this? Like, have you ever had a
Yeah.
time when like you didn't trust your gut or you did trust your gut or you like weren't aware of how someone else, how you came across to someone else and you were misunderstood? Everyone has these experiences. We're just like putting it in a little package so you can talk.
Yeah. Yeah. That to me is some of the most brilliant stuff. So I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy.
Hmm.
I think stand-up comedians are some of, and I know many successful ones. I have the honor of calling friends, and they're some of the smartest people I know.
Hmm.
They're brilliant, and a lot of times the brilliance is their ability to make commentary on something that everybody already
Yeah.
knows, and we just didn't really realize we knew it, right? And they point it out, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that was, yeah, you're right, and like that's what you get. But I think wisdom comes in those packages so often, right? Where it's
Hmm.
like, hey, here's the thing. And people go, shoot, I did kind of know that, right? But I operated on this cultural misconception a lot of times. I think that's what it is. So I'm interested, and if you're okay, I want to take it from the
Yeah.
working with cancer patients and then take this same concept and go towards the parenting side. Um, what are some of the common, I guess, misconceptions people often had? Maybe therapists working with these patients, maybe it came from them, maybe it came from the patients themselves, like misconception around the resilience piece. And does any of that transfer over to working with parents and teens now, where there's a misconception that you see a lot that you're debunking kind of thing? Did you see certain misconceptions you had to kind of keep going back to in those arenas?
I mean, the thing that comes up for me is just that there's a lot there's just this like here's the curriculum that we need to teach. Like there's this
Oh,
idea that there's this right way. And
yep.
for me, it always goes back to, especially in parenting, is like if you don't know how to parent this,
Yeah.
ask your teen. Now, you may not like what they say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying do exactly what they want, but in that conversation, even
Mm,
admitting, like, I can't tell you how many times, especially with my 23-year-old, I had to be like, dude, I do not know what to do with you right now. And these are
yeah.
the reasons why. And so you know how I feel. But like for
Yeah.
me, the most important thing was keeping that conversation going. And
Yep.
there gets to a point in parenting where you're either going to go down the road where your kid's not going to talk to you anymore,
Yeah.
or you're going to have to like not be so black and white so they will keep the conversation going with you. So it's always like,
Yeah.
instead of me thinking like if I don't know the answer, I just say it. Well, what
Yeah.
help me understand, like what's it like for you so I
Oh,
can figure out how we can do this together.
That's so powerful. It's so powerful. And it's such a it and it is so spot on. And we've done hundreds of campuses and I see that with teens on our campuses, see that with my own children, we see with parents like just sometimes ask, be honest. I'm not sure right now. I don't have the answer right now. It's the first time I parented a 14-year-old and I would
Right.
love to like I don't know exactly what to do, but here's what I'm thinking. I love that. And I saw something that you said at one point that I thought was brilliant too, where you were talking about kind of doing this walk by with a teen, just going, hey, you know what? I have some ideas on that. I have some
Yeah.
ideas on how I can help you with that, but um, you know, hey, there's that. And then you just like walk off and you leave them with a sense of like, well, what is the idea? Right? Because you're just inviting, you're not becoming the overbearing parent
Yeah.
that's giving the unsolicited advice,
It's unsolicited advice. Like
right?
no
Everybody
one likes
hates
it.
it.
We hate it,
Yeah.
especially teens.
Yeah, totally. I just think that's
But if
so
you
dang
like
brilliant.
pique their curiosity, and they're like, hey,
Right.
I was thinking about that, but I don't know, like, let me know if you want to hear it or not, or whenever is right for you. Then of course they're gonna come back
Yeah.
and ask.
Yeah. Yeah. First, gosh, that's so. Are you familiar with Lenore Skenazy, the Raising Free Range Kids?
Raising free range kids? No, I have not read that one.
Okay, so yeah, so Lenore's got some great stuff. She was voted worst mom in America because this was like 10, 15 years ago, because she let her young man ride the subway home by himself. He was like 9 and they lived in New York and he's like, I can do
Oh,
this. So she let
okay.
him do it, knowing that he knew how to do it, right? And so then she wrote a piece on it and it was like, oh, we hate you. And so she's made this whole, kind of free range movement going on for that. So she's got a couple of partners, Jonathan Haidt, Dr.
Oh, I
Peter.
love like that book, Anxious
Yep.
Generation, I think is the most
So good.
important book in decades.
It's so
Yeah.
good, right? So good. So John, Peter Gray, and there's another gentleman that works in there with him named Dr. Camilo Ortiz. And we had Dr. Ortiz come on, and he took a very similar approach in therapy. He works with a lot of teens on the mental health. And he said, I'm not popular because I don't want them to stay with me. I don't want them to need me. I want to give them skills so that they get out of here, right? Like, and that's not always a popular take. And I asked him, so I want to ask you the same thing. I said, when you're working with these families, you're working with parents and teenagers, who is the most important person for you to get through to? Is it the parent or the teen?
See, that's such an interesting question because what the teens appreciate about me and like the same Dr. Ortiz like you're talking about is that they will never talk to me if I act like the expert, right? The only way I'm ever going to have a relationship with them is if I am a listener. And like I'm trying to like just get in their head and like figure out what their perspective is and then be like, okay, well, like what about this? Like we have to be collaborators on that, right? But like parents a lot of times don't think they should be collaborators. They feel like they should be understandably like, hey, I have all this wisdom and like I don't want my kid to mess up. So like I gotta like make sure they stay in the lane. But it's
Mhm.
interesting because like the single most common thing I hear from teens is that, oh, I just wish my parents trusted me. Like it's
Yeah.
like my parents think I'm gonna like go and like go off the rails and start doing drugs and ruin my life and not and they're like, what look at me. Like I'm showing up, I'm doing stuff. I'm like, I don't want to not have a good life either. But so I
Mhm.
think like the first answer is the teen. But the thing is, one of the reasons why I actually don't take middle schoolers in my private practice, I only take high schoolers and above, is because the parents, like they kind of want you to, they send their kid to you and they say, hey, fix my kid. But then they don't like want to take responsibility for their part of it. So if I am going to work with the kid that age, I insist on working with the whole family because you have to get the parents
For sure.
to not, be so micromanaging and like just kind of it's their way or the highway.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so dang good. The teens as they're developing now, like how is your practice transition? I know you've really kind of shifted over this last 18 months too, and I know that's been kind of the time. I think that's about the time
Yeah.
frame shift. How do you look at all of the things that teens face now? We're talking collaboration and talking for the parents. It's an interesting thing because and again, please correct me if you've seen something different. I try to look at patterns working with parents and that trust issue that you talk about. I think some go, okay, I grew up and I wasn't necessarily trustworthy as a teen. So I'm automatically projecting this here, even though maybe it's not necessarily the case,
Hmm.
right? So there's the projection piece. And then there's the fear piece that comes in from the unknown of like, I didn't deal with things like social media. I didn't deal with those kind of
Yeah.
things. So like, but now they are. And so now I'm just listening to like all of, I don't know where I'm getting my information. So there's a fear around that kind of stuff too. So, like helping parents unpack that and helping teens work through things that you and I and Coach Witt, like we didn't have to deal with this stuff growing up.
Yeah.
How do you look at all of that and go, okay, here's what's always been true. Here's what's different, but here's how, like,
Yeah.
what are those conversations like? You've got to have a ton of those.
Well, I do think, what that's bringing up for me is like you do as a parent have to be clear about what your like boundaries are. Like I think
Mhm.
as a parent you need to show up with like these are my values and this is why.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
do have boundaries and I am the boss of this hierarchy. Like I think families don't work if there isn't a hierarchy in them. I mean, we're not just friends with our kids. I mean, my kids are my best friends, but like also, right? There has to be that.
Yep.
So I feel like
Yep.
within that, so how do you balance the I'm super clear about why I live my life the way I live,
Yeah.
and I expect certain things from you, and like really like being clear about I have this one worksheet. I saw someone else that you had when I was going through your podcast. Someone else had something similar, at least in the words that were that were kind of written out about it. But I have this thing that's called rights, responsibilities, and privileges, like a
Mm.
super simple worksheet, right? And
Mhm.
so you just basically are looking at what are the rights that, like, if
Yep.
you're my kid, what do you have a right to? It's not that big of a list, right? Like
Yep.
food, safety, shelter, love, medical care, clothing. But
Yeah.
then, like, what are the things that are privileges? Which, by the way, a lot of things that I would consider privileges end up in the rights column pretty quickly, right? It's like,
Yeah.
my parent will drive me around no matter what, and I have all these
Yeah.
extracurriculars, and I can go to private school, and I can have all these phones and all these clothes and all that. But if you really look at it, you have this
Yeah.
opportunity to tie responsibilities to privileges, like specifically. And so it just gives you these little ways for your teen to like earn your trust and live your values. And then when you come up against those big ones, which are
Mhm.
usually like, drinking or smoking weed or whatever your real boundaries are, then at least you've had these, this culture in your family of
Mhm.
like, we have clear expectations from you, but you're doing it. Like you've earned all these privileges. So now we're going to have this conversation about, we're really going to disagree about this. So what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
what do we do when we are going to disagree about, like, should you be able to go to that party? You know, do I have a
Yeah.
line in the sand about alcohol, that kind of stuff? I'm not sure. I think I got off track. I'm not
Oh
sure what
no,
your
you're really
question
good.
is.
No, this is so good. You're talking about some of my favorite stuff personally and stuff that resonates with every single one. And ladies, I know you all have great questions. So at any time, please start putting your hands up. I will bring in. I've got 11 billion other questions that I want to ask Kristen, but I will not monopolize. If I see your hands go up, I'll start bringing you all in. I love that the rights and the responsibilities and the freedoms and the privileges there,
Yeah.
right? I love that. One of the things that I know we get asked quite a bit, and it's whether it's in the men's and the women's or whether it's in the families that we help through home education. And I talked to an amazing group of parents from one of our campuses in Canada last week. Something that comes up somewhat often now. Well, we co-parent. We have two homes.
Yeah.
At my house,
Hmm.
here are the rules. And because there are some rules, I'm the bad guy or the bad lady. Because when my child goes over to see the other parent, those don't exist.
Yeah.
Right. And so, how often are you seeing that? And what is your best when you've got a parent that's like, look, everything you're saying, yes, yes, yes. And that happens at my house for a week, and then there's a new, how do you help those
I
those
mean,
people?
I'm such a broken record, and it obviously depends on the age of the kid, but like
Sure.
teens, preteens and teens is really what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
It's like I just always think naming it. and having a conversation about it, right? Because it's like, this is why I do this, and I understand that your dad or whatever has a whole different thing. And I totally understand that it's weird for you and it's terrible for me. And it's like, name it, right? And
Yeah.
like, so what, and again, like, what would your kids say? Like, usually we just think like we have to fight over our thing, but like, what do your kids think about that, being stuck in the middle of that and having that? And I don't know. I just think
So good.
because that's what I would do as a therapist, right? And they
Yeah.
would tell me, and that you have the same as a parent. We kind of forget sometimes that if we can like sit in that position and just like be more of like a, how is this for you? Like,
Yeah.
because I know
Yeah.
how it is for me as a
Yes.
parent. Like, oh, it's terrible to watch you
Yes.
go over there and have no rules. But like, how is that for you? You know?
So I think I'm so glad, and I wanted you to say whatever was wherever you went with that. But I think it is, I've almost come to believe or look at it as I'm being disrespectful to my teen almost, or like how arrogant am I to think that I've got this and they don't when I could just go, look, I don't know the answer here. This is really hard for me, and it's got to be hard for you because you are bouncing back and forth. I'm not going to disparage your other parent, but it's got to be hard because this is how we do things here. And obviously, they're doing something different. And that's hard for you because you've got to bounce back and forth. And I don't know exactly how to, like, how disrespectful to think that a teenager is not going to understand that. Maybe they won't have, their brain's not fully developed and they know they don't
Right.
understand the nuance of how the relationship ended and they don't, but they
Right.
understand that it's different at mom's than it is at dad's. They get that and they understand when you say, "Hey, that's got to be tough," and I don't have all the answers on that. They get it.
And you know what else I think is cool is like, I have the fear of the parents who really feel like they have more structure and they have
Yeah,
the better way of doing things. And if you looked at it, you'd probably say, yeah, I mean, they kind of do. Like, it kind of is running amok over there.
yeah,
I actually think those kids are going to be fine. Like, if you have one parent who's doing it well and being willing to just have the conversation about it,
yeah,
it's fine. Like, it's
yeah,
enough, you know?
yeah. They're gonna be okay. Yeah, I
Mhm.
know. Oh,
So we were the family that were very willing to have the conversation and sit at the dinner table, and our kids knew this. They were locked in. We're going to talk about this whether they wanted to or not. That's the standing joke now because we've got four of them at college and one at home still.
You have
And
four in college at the same time.
I do. I know.
there's-
But I think there was this fine line of for me as a teenager, I remember being talked at and not
Mhm.
to. And so I have been really careful in with sitting down with them and talking to them and not at them. And then I can hear myself talking at them and then
Mhm.
I pull back. And there's been times where it's like, okay, how am I doing as your mom? Like, where am I showing up? Because I think that there's pieces of me that are failing. And I think that there's a fine line that we dance as parents of, are we talking at them or are we talking with them?
I mean, that is just so good. And I love that you have the courage to ask that question. Like, so, like, of all the courses I've created in my career, my favorite one is this relationship reset. It's like a weekend reset where you just few hours on the 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to reset your relationship with your teen. Because, but basically, it all, I mean, it's way more involved than this, but like spins around that. Like, how can you as a parent show up and say, how am I doing? And like,
Mhm.
I actually want to do better, but like, let's have a real conversation here. So like, but we both, like, I'm going to ask for feedback from you. So I'm going to like show you that I can take your feedback, but it's hard to do that, but it's the key to, again, resetting. Cause you're right. Like in the thing for mindset moments, like one of my slides is that kids spend all day with adults talking at them. If you think about
Mhm.
school and their coaches and their teachers and everyone's talking at them. So you're totally right. We want to like flip that a little bit.
I mean, we wouldn't deal with that well.
Right.
They're people too.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
people. They're not
Yeah.
practicing to be people. They're people right now. We wouldn't deal
Mhm.
with somebody talking at us all the time.
Yeah.
Again, that's something that just makes sense. But until somebody says it out loud, sometimes they go, it's like, oh yeah.
I love how you say they're not practicing to be people. They're people right now. It's so
Yeah,
true.
they're people right now. They're just
Yeah.
people with less practice, right? Like that's it. They're
Hmm.
just younger, but they still have some of those same, like nobody wants to be talked at all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the unsolicited advice all day long.
Hmm.
So dang good. All right, let's get some of these ladies in here. All right, Miss Perez. There you are.
Hey, thanks so much for being here. Definitely appreciate your time.
Thank
I'm going
you.
to do my best to articulate what I'm trying to ask. So, I've heard you talk about the prompts and kind of facilitating the conversation, but then I also heard you talk about like skills.
Hmm.
Is it that it's the conversation, like the communication it creates, that's kind of like building the confidence? Is it they're, actually learning skills and that's building confidence? I'm trying to kind of tie it all in along with resilience as well. I don't know if
Mm,
that makes enough sense for you
It
to kind
totally
of.
does. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. So I have this like a model that came out of all the research that I did, and it has 8 categories. And so the skills of the week in this program, they just cycle through these 8 categories. And so, you're having this conversation about, for example, emotional intelligence is one of those categories, right? So that's just understanding that, our thoughts really drive like how we feel. Like our thoughts cause our emotions and then how we behave. It's like in a super simple way, right? So you're having a conversation and there's like SpongeBob is the GIF. So it's like it's harder to explain without seeing the thing, but it's like a super simple conversation about like something about like use negative emotions to take care of yourself, right?
mm,
So like instead of being like, oh no, I don't know what to do with all this anger, or a lot of times anger is not acceptable. Like anger, I didn't think I was allowed to be angry when I was young, right? So it's like there's nothing wrong with anger. Anger is just an emotion, but it's what do you do with it? It's like, oh, well, what do you do with it? Well, if you look at it, like anger is usually telling you that like you're being disrespected, usually, or you deserve to be treated better, right? So it's just a simple conversation about like, well, like, are you comfortable with anger? What do you do with anger? Like, do you know how to take a pause if you're angry? Do you not? Like, it's so you're just having a conversation about something that's like you probably wouldn't normally talk about an emotion. Like that's not a
mm,
normal thing, but it's like it makes it simple to talk about something like that. So that's emotional intelligence is one, interpersonal skills is one. So just like, listening, like what is it like to like listen for understanding instead of winning, right? So that's one, because like a lot of times we want to win, even if it's not a conflict, we still want to kind of win. We want to like
yeah,
one up you or whatever, but it's like there's a whole different thing when you're like really want to understand someone. So again, there's going to be a gif of like, the Lion King or something. So it's like making it so this is not like a tough situation. It's a dinner conversation, right? But it's like, oh yeah, I don't like it when someone does that to me. Like when they, don't
mm,
ask me a follow-up question, but they like jump in and like bigger, better deal me or what, whatever it is. And
mm,
so that's what, so then there's like inner wisdom is one, right? Like trust your gut. To me, like people ask me all the time, what do I think the most important thing we should teach kids is? And for me, it's trust their own guts, because they
mm,
spend their whole lives like looking outside of everyone else, including their peers and wherever else they get there. And the thing is, we can actually feel in our bodies whether a
mhm,
decision is right for us or whether a person is open. And so like just talking about that is like, have you ever like had a red flag warning going off in your head and ignored it? How did that go? So it's doing like the two things at the same time, right? So you're talking about a skill from an evidence-based resilience curriculum, but
mm,
it's just the talking that
mhm,
like with no like no one's right, no one's wrong. It's just like having a conversation where like you're just as interested in what they have to say, because they have really cool things to say about these. They already know about resilience. They just probably don't know what that word means, you
mm,
know? So, and it's like, so personal strengths is one. I think this story is interesting about strengths because, so like just being able to name one of your personal strengths, right? So my daughter, my youngest is 19 now, but she grew up with this. So, I mean, she could name 20 strengths of hers when she was like, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I remember one day in the car, for some strange reason, I asked her something about one of her strengths. I just to name a strength. She could not. At age 13, in middle school, the saying a strength about herself out loud was too much. She was in that stage where she was like looking at everyone else. How do I fit in? What's right? What's wrong? You can't say, you know? And I was like flabbergasted that something as simple as like naming something you're good at. So like that's why these are just like to try to get this in your daily conversation. It's not rocket science, but it is helpful to
Mhm.
be reminded of things like that. The other one is values. So there's one that's needs and values. So it's like get help when you need it, or like, you know, take responsibility for how you show up in the world, right? So you're just like, again, like sometimes like the values thing, you'll get that from like a coach, you know, like a football coach or whatever, but it still feels a little like stilted. Like kids don't really talk about values. But when you're doing this every week and you're just kind of, there are these easy conversations, it just like, it just gets them to think about just like what they want to own.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to go like look up those resources and see if we can start incorporating that at the house. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that question.
It's really good. And by the way, Erica or no Erica, I'm trying to win this conversation right now. I'm just trying to win all of it. But it's so like it's so true. It's so true. All of those things, like so true. Identifying the emotions. I think that is such a powerful concept too, to just go, hey, look, this is what it is. Why do you think that is? Why do you think this comes up? We had a conversation at the dinner table the other day about getting mad and um one of my kids getting mad at the other one specifically. And we're like, what is that? Like, what is that anger? Like, what does it feel like? What does it look like? What are the things that lead up to it? What are the things that you notice and end up coming out afterwards where it's like, I'm not even mad right there. Mad was like the byproduct. I'm actually sort of afraid right there.
Oh, God,
Like I'm
that's so
actually sort
good.
of afraid. Like it's not even, it wasn't even anger. It was like anger was the thing that it manifested. Like that's how it came out and looked. But I was actually just kind of afraid that I wasn't going to be able to have this thing or do this thing. Right. And it's like, that's such, those
Yeah,
are,
like so what you just said, it's like I think a lot of times people are afraid of their actual emotions.
yeah,
So it's like they
100%,
don't just to even take the time to do what you did is like
100%.
there's nothing wrong here. This is like a God-given
Yeah.
power that we have in our
Yeah.
bodies to navigate life, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, you
That's
know,
right.
I didn't do that that's the way I'm a therapist. The reason
Yeah.
I'm a therapist, because I just like stuffed it all down for my whole life and just thought I had to be like the perfect, gracious, loving Southern daughter. And I have a great family. I'm not dissing them, but
Totally.
I'm just saying it
Totally.
wasn't until I was like in my 20s, I was like, maybe there's a reason, like maybe it's okay for me to be mad sometimes. Like maybe I don't have to always just like put this face on that like everything is great, because no one's life is perfect all the time.
That's right.
And
That's right.
not even being able to identify what that emotion is, because
Right.
we stuck in like three different, I'm mad, I'm happy, you know,
Yeah.
we don't even know, like when Matt said, like when it all came down to it, he was afraid. Like we don't dig deep enough, even as adults, into our own emotions. How can we expect our kids to do the same?
Yeah.
Well, I love that you talked about like I'm mad, I'm happy, because the other thing about just the human existence is it's messy, it's conflicted. It's never just
Mhm.
one thing. It's like, you know, like in an argument when like someone holds it against you and says like, "Yeah, but this is what you wanted." You can be like, "Yeah, I wanted it and I'm pissed right now," or "I don't like this part about it, but I still want it, but I don't like," you know what I mean? It's like it's never just one thing.
Totally. So good. And I'm gonna grab Holly in here too, but like the concept of making things, I always say you make normal what you make normal. So if it becomes just a normal thing
Hmm.
early on to talk about these things at the dinner table, identify these emotions, after a while, it just becomes a normal point of conversation. It's a normal thing for them to focus on and to pay attention to and to recognize, and you get to make normal what you make normal. Uh,
Yeah.
like again, such a simple concept, but it's just something that we are not as intentional about as we could be, especially I think as parents. And I'm speaking
But
to
you know,
myself.
the flip side of that is so interesting, right? Because we're like fish that don't know there's water. And so
Yeah,
what's normal in our family, like we
totally.
don't know anything else,
That's
right?
right.
And so like where do you somehow get this new way of being? And so
That's
like that's my thing with mindset moments is like
fascinating.
trying to make
Yeah.
something so simple that it's just like, oh, you
Yeah.
talk about this at the dinner table? You know, I mean, because people don't.
Yes.
I mean, a
Ah,
lot of people do that. Yeah.
all right, Holly Logan, get you in here.
Thank you, Kristen, for being here today. I was running a few things down. So my background before becoming a stay-at-home mom, I was a family nurse practitioner in pediatrics. So
Oh, wow.
saw a lot of teenage girls who would come to me and wanting me to give them like a diagnosis. Oh, I can explain my symptoms because I have depression, I have anxiety, I have something that we can put on the DSM. And
Mhm.
I would say 8 out of 10 times I could bring it back to self-esteem issues. Most preteen, teenager girls that I worked with, it came back to a poor self-esteem. And I'm kind of hearing from your last question like things, but I'm really curious your thoughts on how that piece in self-esteem works within like even your program or how you
Yeah.
work with girls and teenage girls,
Yeah.
because they would come in with like headaches, stomach ache, all these things, and anxiety, depression. They wanted me to put that label on it, a diagnosis code that you slap on there. But at the end of the day, it was self-esteem. It was poor agency. It was poor self-esteem. It was not believing in themselves, not liking the way they look. And as a parent now, I have 3 young boys, so very different. But I'm wondering your thoughts on empowering a young girl's and young woman's self-esteem. And now I'm even questioning that word in general, like self-esteem. Is it agency? Is it what, we could probably put a different word or title on it, but I'm curious of your thoughts around that.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, I always think of that there are two basic building blocks of self-esteem, which is strengths and values. So if you live your life in alignment with your personal strengths, you're gonna feel you're gonna feel good about yourself because your strengths are the things you're good at, right? The things that you don't always enjoy doing your strengths, but typically they're things that like make you feel good. And so you can lean on those even like to get yourself out of a low time. It's like if you can think that way, right? So like the strengths thing is really important. And there's a ton of research, like in the original creating of our resilience model, inner
Mhm.
strengths, and this was, back in the mid 2000s, there was a whole inner strengths, research movement. So like there's a lot behind that. If we can just own our strengths and like remind our girls. And so, strengths are everything from, natural talents that you have to skills that you spend time learning to just like personality traits. Like maybe you just like make people laugh, or maybe you just are a good shoulder to cry on, whatever that is. So that's the one side. And then values is very similar. If you live your life in alignment with your own values, you'll feel good about yourself because you're saying, hey, this is what matters to me. This is what makes a good person. I'm doing this. So, and then the third piece of that, I just think it's an epidemic of loneliness. I think
Mm.
at its base, these kids they're holding it all in. These girls, especially, they think they're the only ones. It's like I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many times I hear it's like they feel like they're the only ones going through this, and they don't want to initiate, because everyone else seems like they have these perfect lives. So just the like getting somehow in some kind of affinity group, right? Which is where strengths and values also help because they help you find your people who have similar strengths and interests and values so that you can just talk. And I mean, I know it's like not that easy, right? Because that's why we have a mental health crisis in this country. Because like one of the things that's going on for me is this, I don't know how to do it, but I feel like we got to take back the lunchroom for like middle school
Mhm.
and high school for girls because lunchroom is just like social hell, right?
Mhm.
And so, but so I understand that like finding people to talk to is not that easy, but it does go back to like strengths and values because these are intrinsic, internal things we can do to kind of structure our life around that will give
Mhm.
us some, sense of confidence in ourselves and way to find shared interest with people.
Really good. Really good. Um, did that help, Holly? Good. Awesome. That there's a couple things in there, when you're talking, I like the two pillars there of the strengths and the values. So I've always heard, and I very much believe confidence comes from competence, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you are competent, you have a natural confidence that comes from that. And it makes a whole lot of sense. And it makes sense why the whole affirmations movement doesn't always, like, it actually can be counterintuitively, like, detrimental if you are telling yourself things and giving yourself affirmations to things that aren't true,
Right.
because you know you're lying,
You
right?
know you're
You know
lying. That
you're
will
not
never work.
actually competent there, right? So it makes
Yeah.
it worse.
Mhm.
So I love that, but I love pairing it with that values piece, because to me that values piece is like the identity sort of piece of that, you know. And I love, we had Craig Ballantyne with our men last week or the week before, and he was talking about the fact that when you identify as something, I've never had alcohol, so I identify as just somebody who doesn't drink. So I don't need like discipline to not drink. It's just not, I just
Mhm.
do, right? There's no discipline or willpower needed. There's
Mhm.
just an identity. It's just part of that, like, so it's not hard. So when you pair those two things, that makes a whole lot of sense to get a strong human out of that. I
But
think
you know,
that's,
it's not that easy, I think. I mean, I'm curious because you have your own education system, but I don't think it's that easy in the way we educate now. You know, we educate into like such a box, like such
sure.
an achievement
Oh,
box, and it's like such
totally.
to college, like what do you think I need to put on my college application thing? And so like finding your own like genuine like
I
strengths and interests and value, it's not always easy.
I think we do things culturally in ways that make it to where you almost, like, the odds are so stacked against you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're so stacked against you, because not only do you not ever get time to really wrestle with that and figure that out, but then you come out and you're like, man, all of my habits are, I'm just really predisposed to just asking everybody else what to think and what to do and what. And so it's almost like you have to overcome all of this now habit and physiology of who you think you are. You got to unlearn all of that. And that, yeah,
I mean, I always think that like the 20s is such a difficult decade.
yeah,
I think it's really hard. And
yeah,
like it was, I always say I had my first original thought when I decided to go back to
yeah,
graduate school. And that was in my late 20s. Like
yeah,
it was like, wait, a therapist? Like, what is
yeah,
that? And like I'm watching my 27-year-old son do it right now. Like he's leaving
yeah.
New York finance, which is like, oh no, it's the only world there is. And it's like, he's like, there's gotta be something else out there in the world. But
Yeah,
it's
totally.
hard to like break out of that.
100% it is. Oh, it's really good. Let's get Miss Sarah. What's happening, young lady? Hey, I sent you a video earlier, by the way, too. I'm so pumped for what you got going on. I know that's off topic, but I'm so pumped for what you got going on there. So we're gonna figure something out. But I just want to, but hey, good to see you.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm excited to check my email then. Um, so I love everything you guys are talking about. This is new for me, so I just kind of Googled you and looked up the website and everything. On Mondays in my program, so I work just with high schoolers.
Okay.
I have an Apogee campus and it's just high schoolers. I have 6 students right now. And one of the students joined just like 5 weeks ago. So he's really new. And so on Mondays, it's very consistent. I always have a thing on the board. It's called Mindset Monday. There's a quote, and then there's always a thought jogger question of some sort. And they just take a moment to read it, sit down and think about it. They write their response on a Post-it note. They put the Post-it note up on the dry erase board where the question is. And then at the end of the week, we review those. And we've done that since the beginning of the year. And usually those are theme based. It's kind of on point with what we're studying in that theme. So I have a 15-year-old boy who recently joined our program, and in the work that I've been in K through 8 schools mostly. So this is actually my first time to work with high schoolers, and I love it though. It's been really, really great because of parents really being in a different place with their parenting, with their approach. However, there are some parents that I've encountered that I would say my best explanation is that they're parents who are parenting to make themselves feel better about themselves, even if it robs the agency from their child. And so,
Like, will you give an example of that?
yeah, so like I have like this boy, for example, his mom's like very type A. She's super overachiever. She's a real estate agent. She's exclusively homeschooled him. She's very proud of all of the things she can do and manage and accomplish. And he has like no self-leadership skills, no time management skills. Like it's tough because she has done everything for him constantly. And so he's coming into my program and there's a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity to get lost as far as like with your time management and project management. So he's got a really strong group mentality because his dad, so they all are like, they're really into fitness. His dad leads this like rucking program, and they do CrossFit together as a family. They do jujitsu together as a family. So like when we go to do like a cold, like an ice plunge, he's the first one in the ice plunge because he's just got it built in of like, I can do hard things, right?
Uh-huh.
But when he's left to all alone to be like, hey, buddy, this is what you need to be working on right now, he doesn't know what to do with himself. Like he can't manage himself independent. He has no like self leadership.
Mhm.
And so another thing I've noticed, and this is a long way to get to my
So
question.
what's
So
is it how to
my
bridge
question
that
is
gap?
that when we do, so we're working on the skills, right? We're totally working on his skills. Time, like he's developing them very slowly. He's just getting his reps in, right? Building that muscle. But what I'm seeing is, what my question is, when we do these Mindset Mondays, it's almost as if he doesn't understand how to think deeply. Like he doesn't have, like he misses the point of all the questions almost always. And I don't know, like I was sitting with my husband last night and I'm like, do you think it's possible to build a muscle for introspection and to deep thinking? Or do you think some people just don't have it? And that's where I'm
Actually
at.
never thought about before. That's so
Got it.
interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like, let me give you an example. So what
Yeah.
this
So,
question
and we gotta make
was,
it, so we got, because we were us, we gotta do it quick, but yeah, like give an
okay.
example. We can get
So
to it
this
quick.
the quote was by Walt Disney, and it's, the way to get started is to stop talking and begin doing. And the question was, what fears hold people back from starting something new? How can they overcome them?
Hmm.
Everybody else wrote, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. One person even put fear of stepping into the unknown and out of your circle of control. And they elaborate on it. They write a little bit. His answer was this explanation of, he said, I'm scared of the dark. And one way I've faced my fear is going into the dark. And I've noticed changes in the way I see the dark. And so, and I even asked him a little later, we were doing something and everybody was kind of occupied. And I was like, hey, come over here. And I said, I want you to read these questions again, look at your answer. And if you feel that you didn't actually answer the question, I want you to give it another try. And then I just walked away. I didn't like stand there, like watching him do it. Right. And then I went back later and I looked and he didn't re-answer the question. And so anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to figure out like how maybe everyone's not going to come along in that way together. I don't know, because I know the other
Pretty
side.
new, you're saying? Like how many weeks?
Yeah, he's been in for like about 5 weeks with us.
I don't know. That's like such a specific thing. Like it makes me super curious, but I feel like we could take like 20 minutes and talk about it, which I would be happy to do. But it's like super, I mean, I don't know that I have like an answer for you, except for just more conversation with him. Like, yeah, because I mean, it's like curious how his mind works. And it's interesting the connection you think between his mom, right? But I just don't I don't feel like I have enough to.
Well, some people do all the work for their kids and they don't task them with carrying that responsibility or weight in any way, in any shape or form. You know what I mean? Except
Does he do well in other subjects? Like, does he do well academically?
It's hard to say because my program isn't heavily academic based.
So yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a that's something that I think could be a multitude of things. It would be super interesting to be with him, to watch and stuff. Because sure, is there a piece of this where it's like, hey, parents sometimes don't give the young people time and opportunity to think because they do more talking and this is what you're going to do now, and this is what we're going to do now. So they don't end up having to think about their thoughts. It is just, what am I doing next? You're telling me, right? So now when somebody's asking me to think about my thoughts, I'm not really sure what to say. And it may just come out as basic and as simple as that. And that may actually be, in some ways, more honest than other answers that come out in a more academic fashion of like, well, let's see, this is a teacher who is wanting me to say, so I'm going to go ahead and say, what is the cliche that she probably wants to hear? And I'm going to use all these superfluous words because, hey, that's what school wants, right? They don't actually want us to get to the point. They want us to just dance around it and make it sound pretty, like I'm making a point. Whether I believe that or not, that's what they want to see. Where this young man might just be like, hey, I'm afraid of the dark, so I go in a dark space. And that might be the most brilliant, straightforward, honest answer you're getting.
Yeah.
It really might be, so it's a part, like, it's not as easy as just going like, he may actually have thought about it more than anybody else, and that may be what you get. You know what I mean? So it's
That's
interesting.
helpful. That's really helpful. That's why I wanted to bring it up because I'm like, I'm just stuck in a rut of a mindset at this point, and I really don't want to like just label him as like not able to do
Just
that.
keep asking questions and then ask him why. And what does that mean? Right? And that's a good question for anybody. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think that? And what does that actually mean? Define that a little further.
We did host our first Socratic Circle last week on Wednesday, and so I give them some like prep work to do. And he came prepared, and he actually was the only student that cited some of the statistics from the article they read. And his mom texted me when he got home and was like, he was so excited about that Socratic Circle that you guys hosted. And so, yeah.
Good. No, good. And I think that's just it. You just keep having those conversations. Just keep asking why.
Well, not
And
a
what
little.
else? Yeah, just be curious. If you're curious, and I think that's a lot of, what Kristen's talking about too, is like our ability to be curious about the young people sometimes, and their thoughts and their opinions on something sometimes is what gives them the courage to go ahead and be curious about themselves.
Yeah.
So I think you've got an opportunity there to be able to lead him to that. I think that's pretty flippin' sweet. I'll be interested. Yeah, I want to follow up on that young guy too. Yeah, it's good. Really good. So interesting, man. Um, the so the You mentioned something that made me think of this too, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but I know earlier, you mentioned John, and the Anxious Generation, right? Mentioned his book. I remember you, or I can see Abby's book in there too, right? Like Bad Therapy, and I can see, so it's always super interesting to me too. You're getting to help so many families. You're getting to help parents. You're getting to help teens for your own growth, for your own curiosity. Like, who are the people that you're watching and paying attention to, or you're reading, or you're like, who do you allow to pour into you too?
I mean, I love to read, and I know, like, I didn't know that woman's name, and I know that movement of the free range kids, but I've never read her book, so now of course I
okay,
can go read it. But
yeah, super cool.
I I mean, I love this space. I like, the space of parenting. I like the space of self-help. I like psychology. I like some new agey stuff. Like I just,
Yeah,
I read actual books and then I love audibles too. So kind of
yeah,
just I'm looking for all of it. One of the categories that I didn't mention in my model, which I think is worth mentioning, is spirit, which is
mm,
obviously a touchy one, but I think it's like there's this woman, a spiritual child, which is such a fascinating book. So basically, in her research, the single most protective factor for depression and anxiety of adolescence is spirituality. Now, that does not have to mean a particular religion or even religion. It could be like a transcendence in nature. It's
mm,
typically about like a connection with a higher something. But
mhm.
again, that doesn't have to be religion. But it's so fascinating that if you take our sort of cultural need to like make it bad, like make religion kind of bad, and watch kids naturally, there's this natural thing that happens in adolescence of this like seeking, questioning thing that I just think is so interesting. So I just like to read all these. There's so many people doing amazing research in the field of like how to feel better, how to live a better life, right?
Totally. So good, man. So good. I'm gonna say this publicly right now, partially because I'm gonna go ahead and be very honest. I want to put you on the spot. Would you also be open to coming back at some point with our young ladies?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I would love that.
Because we do, like, our podcast episodes are always, we get to have people in our programs and various, so we obviously have a lot of our amazing women here, and I think it'd be super fun because we do one with teenage young ladies too. And,
Love that.
and I think that would be super fun. So thank you for agreeing, because I wanted to put you on the spot.
No problem.
Um, for parents who are hearing all of this and they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I've got a teen that I'm, working with, or I've got teenagers that I'm working with right now, and I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. I'm hearing what she's saying. A lot of this stuff makes sense. What are the resources you point people to? Is it go to your website and check out I remember seeing the two questions. Is it like kind of those table topics? Are you looking at like this reset? Do you like to talk to them first? Like, how do you like to approach that if they're just like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to do?
I mean, I have to say, most people with teenagers, by the time they're really reaching out or looking,
Yeah.
could benefit from the reset. Because
Yeah.
what it does is it like, think about it for any relationship. Like
Yep.
you get stuck.
Yep.
Get stuck in a communication cycle. It's very difficult to break, right? And I even had to take my own oldest child to family therapy when he was, my first kid. And it's just hard to do it for yourself, is my point, even when you're a therapist, right? You get stuck and you just need some outside perspective and help.
Yeah.
And so like the weekend reset it's just because not only are you resetting your relationship, but you're installing good communication for the future.
Absolutely.
So it's like such a simple thing, and it's just an app-based thing, and it's just so that's my
I love
it
it.
really is my favorite thing I've ever created. But if someone really wants therapy, I mean, I'm not taking very many clients anymore because
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this mindset moments into schools and stuff. But and I'll send you, if you want, like I'll send you a link for that, and I'll give a discount or whatever for anyone who comes from you. Like we can set all that up so we can just send people.
Super cool. I want to keep the conversation going on that side for sure. I internally, externally, however we can do that and help promote. So the last few, because I want to honor time. Are you, because I know we're at an hour. I've got super quick
Yeah,
last
no,
few.
I'm good.
Are you
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So what are you excited about building right now? And I specifically want to push you towards, if you don't mind, talking about working with the schools and getting into schools. That's fascinating to me. Obviously, coming, being in education for 2 decades, and my heart is there. And one of the things that people get confused about is that, because I don't love the system, it's like, well, I want to be completely against this. No, I want to still help there too. I want to help the teachers, administrators, the families that are there. If we can help, even though we're going to build something different, if I can help the good humans, we want to help the good humans.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So, what are you building within there? And then the last two will be obviously, where would you send people to go to find out more about the work? And how do we support you best? We as in Apogee support you as in Kristin best. So those are the final
Okay, so the first one was, what am I building?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it's so interesting education, like as you know, right? So I had like 7 governors say to me, oh, we really care about teen mental health and we have all this money over here, talk to this person. But then when you go from the governor to this person in the bureaucracy of the state and try to get through and get that, it's like it just takes forever, right?
Kristin, I don't know what you mean. Yeah, no, I get you 100%.
So we now like have a team that we're doing to take this out. And one of the things that I like seeing about you have like a parent coaching thing that when I was reading about your thing, and the biggest thing that I am excited about Mindset Moments is the parent part of it. Because it just feels like not only is there this whole thing about parents feeling like, well, what are you even teaching my kids? But just the fact that the positive part that like parents want to be included. And there's research about like if parents are engaged, their kids are more successful. So it's like that's the thing that I really am trying to build, like this whole community mindset of like being partners, right, in these conversations to build resilience that starts in the schools or starts in your athletic club and includes the parents. So that's
so good.
Yeah, that's my biggest
So
thing.
good. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful for that because it's, I'm not well versed enough to say, well, here's the research here, here's the research. I'll just say, a couple decades working with thousands and thousands of families, the families that are taking things, the approach that you're laying out, where we're all going to be co-curious together. We're not going to pretend like everybody's got the answers, but we can be co-curious. Let's find the answers together. Let's be open and have the conversation so we can find those. I'm curious about you. I'm curious about me. I need to grow too. Let's just grow together. Like, why don't we figure, man, that will cure a lot of things that ail us.
And the other thing that I hear just all the time, not even from client families, actually from just people I speak with, because like if you're ever going to sit next to me at dinner, it's going to be a deep conversation, and it's that families that like they're great families. Everything is great, but they feel like they don't really talk. Like I hear that from like, the parents. It's like but your kids call you, like your adult kids call you every day and they want to like share their lives with you. Like my kid, it's like transactional, but it's not like real. And that's the thing, is like there's such an opportunity for closeness that's like right there and everyone wants it, but they just don't quite know how to
So
do
true.
that.
So true. So good. Okay. Where does everybody go? Because we want to honor time, but I am going to absolutely hold you to what you have now said publicly, because we are going to be bringing you back in too. Where does everybody go to
Oh,
find?
so MacDermott method. Yeah, MacDermott method is and because you have show notes that we can put a link in or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We're going to put it in
So
there. Yep.
that's where it's
And
on.
that's on Instagram too. You might probably
Oh,
on
so
you've
my
got your
new
name
little one
and you've
minute
got
videos.
McDermott.
Did you? Yeah, because it looks like you watched some of mine. So this
Girl,
is just
come
a
on.
new
I'm on it.
thing. Like in
Yeah.
like 4 months ago, I've never done social media. I actually have like a visceral negative reaction to social media, but
Totally.
everyone's like, you have to build your brand, blah, 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 blah. And finally, someone showed me this like visual metaphor, like using props to make a
Yeah.
little point. And it's so silly. Like everything in my office is like a toy. Like here's a treasure chest. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm having so much fun doing these 1 minute parenting videos, and they're kind of silly, but they're kind of fun because it's like one little concept at a time. So that's MacDermott method on like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever.
And they're good.
Thank you.
And they're good. I understand the visceral response. I get it. I 100% get it. I also know the power of doing it, and I understand. So I get all the above 100%, but you're doing a really good job on it too. So that's very cool. And the last one from us too, how do we best support you? How do we as an organization best support Kristin and
Yeah,
all
I
the
mean, really, I would just love to talk about mindset moments, and like if it's something that you all could use, like that's it seems like it would be aligned somehow. So, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. I think there's more conversation. Yes, I would love to bring you back with the ladies, but I want to just continue the conversation too. I know this is the first time we've gotten to do this, where we actually get to chat, but we'll have to set up some more time too, just to connect and keep pushing things forward, because we're very much on the same team too, and really, really grateful for the work you are doing. It matters so much. It matters even more now than it probably ever has, and I'm just really, really thankful.
Yeah, so someone flashed up that they'd love to have me come to campus, so I would take you up on
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, let's have a conversation. That's yeah, the Utah crew.
I
I
mean,
think
this is so cool. You have all these amazing people. I just love it. I love
it's
what
the
you do.
best.
It's
It's the
amazing.
best. It
Yeah.
is the best. So yeah, I'm gonna let them do the debrief on this, let the ladies do their thing, but I will reach out to you here, before the end of the week too, and we can see if we can just get some more times to chat and talk about working together on things. So and doing some good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolute honor. Absolute honor. Thank you so much. You are the best. Ladies, thank you for letting me hang out here too. I always get to I appreciate getting to do that. I'll hop off at the same time too. And Coach Witt, I'll let you take, our ladies through a little debrief here. And then Kristin, again, thank you. I'll reach out to you here. If not tonight, because I'm gonna go cook some dinner, I'll reach out to you tomorrow and we'll get something in the books.
Sounds good. Thanks
Awesome.
again.
Kristen.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Matt.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you all.